What's our job? What's our rising? Is it to sit and simply do our personal development? How can we become more aware that they are often the things that constrain us? How can we unleash ourselves from the old paradigm? How can we recognise even the paradigm that we're in, that we've been in for thousands of years? My work and my passion is about human flourishing and business prosperity being inextricably linked. You cannot separate the two. From my experience of 30 years working in the personal development and leadership development area. So my view is that leadership is the greatest, most precious opportunity to inspire hearts and minds, enable people to fulfil their potential, elevate human consciousness and impact society on the grandest of scales. Flourishing means to me having purpose, having a meaningful life and having the sense of contributing to others and contributing to ourselves. Did you ever have an epiphanal moment where life altered, where in a moment you found out a piece of information and all your values and your practices changed? And without fail, the one time that's unified across every culture is when a woman knew she was pregnant and was going to become a mother. Now, all of you who are women who have mothered in this audience know that moment. For me personally, I gave up smoking, I stopped drinking and did all those things because I cared for and I knew I had life in me. If you haven't had a child, you have that potential because we embody that as women. Now, I hate to separate the men in that conversation, but that's the truth of our bodies, and we often don't talk about our hormones or our bodies. But that's actually part of what drives oxytocin. It's what drives our love and compassion. But we don't talk about that in corporates, and we don't talk about that amongst ourselves, but we have got a feminine intelligence that is unique. It does exist in both women and men. In fact, men do have a larger percentage of operating in the right side of the brain. Unfortunately, they've been stopped and suppressed in expressing it. What I have seen through the combination of working with all women for 13 years and then all men for 15 years is the balance was missing. Because women will do personal development, will seek and search for their inner calling, seek and search for their community, for their tribe, for their sisters. And men have grown up with this sense of they have to be the warriors, they have to be resilient and on their own. And they're missing the balance between the two. And so what I saw is that my work seemed to be, and the calling for me is really bringing grace from the feminine and the resilience from the masculine, but finding the balance of the both. After 13 years of working with women, I moved to England and started working in the most difficult corporate environments, the oil and gas industry. So, paradox. Oils out of plants, aromatherapy, women for 13 years, flip, oil and gas industry, BHP Billiton, mining, 15 years. So how does that, Inga spoke this morning about synchronistic moments. How does that work? But what I did notice is where I went was to the belly of the beast, the toughest environments where people's hearts were breaking. So I'm very, very passionate about this notion of bringing heart into business. And that means thinking from our hearts, as we've heard today. That means feeling and sensing what is required in the emergence of a business phenomena or in the emergence of the business corridors, the decision-making places. And mostly what I see in the corporate corridors now is people forget their heart and why they come to work as an expression of their vocation, as an expression of protecting their families. They ignore that and then go home to restore themselves when they return to their families. And it's critical we integrate the two. And that's why it's important we bring heart back to business, because people are burnt out, worn out, overwhelmed, and we have to bring that heart, that compassion, and we need to care for the men and women that are providing the resources that we have in our lives and remind them of why they go to work in the first place. Thank you very much. had this imagining one day that if a man were to bring his child in his arms into the boardroom and look down at his child and said, now make your decision for the future of the company.